growing it, if it's a forest, it's like a farm forest where they chop it down every 30 or 50 years or whatever the time would be. And they've also got like this thing really cool. It's called like every man's right, and it means you can just you can go into the forest even if it's not your forest, you don't own it, as long as you're not like sort of being a nuisance or anything. You can just go and you can walk in the forest and you can pick berries, and it's just you can't maybe light a fire, but that's really neat. And it lets you do stuff like I got into orienteering a bit, which is like where you've got your compass and you try to make your way around the forest. But that was really fun. But then Sweden, so I got to go to Sweden twice. Once in Haparanta, which is like the city. It's about 2.5 hours north of Oulu, and it's just like there's the Baltic Sea in between Sweden and Finland, and then there's if you just go like the lowest, like the first chance you get, cross right into Sweden. That's Haparanta, and it's a big sort of town where all the Finns go over and they buy cheap Swedish stuff and they go to the IKEA, and that's cool because you've got and you've even got the 2 clocks of like Finnish time, Swedish time. And it's got like Sisan is Finnish, then Ingang is Swedish. So I got to like have Swedish meatballs and stuff, of course, at IKEA. And stuff's just so much cheaper there. Like a chocolate bar, they've got Marabou chocolate bars, which are big in Finland, and it's like $2.60 in Finland, and it's only €1 in Sweden. It's really a big difference. And this was way up north in Muonio. I've got a bit more later about the trip, the Rotary Lapland trip, but that was really cool. And then of course, and there's a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, and that was neat because it's kind of the only thing from like Canada or Toronto or whatever, and it's so far away because everything else is a little different. So as far as school, so I went to Oulun suomalaisen yhteiskoulun lukio, or OSIC for short. It's an upper secondary school built in 1902. The school actually survived a Soviet bombing in 1944 during the Continuation War, which is kind of part of World War II, when a bomb landed in the girls' gym, but it didn't explode. But a lot of Oulu got pretty much destroyed during that time. But it's a really beautiful school. It's got a cool art style to it, and I really like going there. And then in Finland, school they specialize their education much earlier than us, because for like generally, like in Canada, it's like you finish your grade 12, and when you go into university, you choose like a bit more, like you have to plan your courses a bit, but that's sort of the final say, okay, now I'm doing an arts thing, now I'm doing a science thing. Whereas in Finland, in order to get into my school, and it's like a specialized sort of art school, you had to already apply for it. And so it meant that all the students there were really determined to learn, and they were very into the like very studious. And yeah, I know you hear a lot about the Finnish education system and how great it is, and I think of course like the teachers were really good, and it seemed really good. They have like free lunches at school and all that sort of stuff, but the students were really I think the splitting off earlier, it works well in Finland, definitely. But the one thing that was a bit of a it means that you don't have like quite the same choice. Like, because I took a music class, and when I first found out, I was like, oh, music class, we just like band at school here. But in order to do a big band, you'd have to go to the big music school. So it was more of a little music class. But it was still cool because I learned how to play a bit the kantele, which is like a Finnish folk instrument. And it's like a little, very small thing. It's like this big or something. It's like a wooden sort of guitar with 5 strings, and it's like an ancient sort of instrument. That's really cool. But yeah, and you can learn. And also, so it's not quite the same semester system. Like, things are broken up into 5 little semesters throughout the year, and those are, and you sort of put your courses together, and at the end you have a big exam. And then also it's a bit more, the classes are a bit more all over the place. Like, one day you start with law, then English, then math, then history. And it's like, as opposed to at school here where, every day it's going to be history. So it's a bit more exciting, but then also it's a bit easier to get mixed up. But it was really cool. There's so many languages you can learn, like in Finland. Um, of course, everyone knows Finnish, but then Swedish, it's like their second language, like we have French, so it's still an official language. Everyone learns Swedish, and then a lot of people want to learn English because it's sort of like the lingua franca, and everyone speaks it in Europe. It's super popular. But if you want, you can learn French or German or Spanish or Russian or Italian or so many different languages at school, and I thought that was really, really neat. Like I took a French course just for fun, and that was fun. But yeah, I took all sorts of stuff. I took like art, drama, law, history, music, and it was nice because it's an art school. Even though I like, of course, like when you first get into it, you don't know all the language, and it can be a bit overwhelming. But because there's stuff like drama and art and music, it was a bit easier than if I showed up and it's just like, okay, now it's business 101 or that sort of thing. Then in Alavus, this was cool because I got, this was a bit sort of central Finland, and I got to meet up with other exchange students. Like there's like Zach from California, Médéric from Quebec, Natsumi from Japan, Emily from France. And because it's a northern district, there aren't as many people. So it's a bit, you can't meet up as often, like because the people in Helsinki area, let's maybe 30, 40 people, and they're all like 2 hours away, so they can meet up very often. But this was really cool. It's like you get a sense of the farm, like a Finnish farm. They had like chickens and lambs and cows. And yeah, and it was cool to just get out of Oulu for a bit and see what is central Finland. That was fun. And then this was the Rotary Lapland trip. This was really, really cool. It's kind of of course, it's a shame there's going to be like a Euro tour into St. Petersburg tour, of course, because of the COVID thing that they got canceled. But luckily, the Lapland trip was in November, I think. So it ran fine. And it was really, really nice. It was cool to see Rotary youth exchange students from all over Finland again, because because there are a lot of people you meet in Karku, and then they're way down in Helsinki, and you don't see them again for a while. So it's cool to see everyone. It was my first time downhill skiing in Finland, and I do that a fair bit later, but it was cool to get into it. And especially since like I skated blue a lot, so that was fun. And went on a reindeer ride, which was really, really cool. They're pretty fast. It was actually also because it's so far up north, like it's above the Arctic Circle, it gets dark very, very early in the winter. And because we were the last group to go, it was almost like you couldn't see anything. And then, but that was really cool. I liked the changes in brightness throughout the year. And it's just it's really wild to wake up and you've got to go to school, and it's maybe not so much fun, but you've got to go to school and it's early in the morning and it's still dark. It's so dark all the time. But then you get the summer where it's bright in the middle of the night, and it's just really wild experience. And we also went on sled dog rides, and that was cool. Like I expected the sled dogs to be much bigger, because like I think maybe I read about them, or if I saw them in a movie, and I imagine they're like these enormous huskies or something, but they're just like regular dog size. But they're super, super fast, and that was nice. And then feeding reindeer and stuff. That was fun. And I learned a bit about the Sami culture and traditions, because they're like the native people of the north. And they can actually move between Russia and Finland and Sweden and Norway without a visa or anything, which is kind of neat. But just generally, it's a beautiful place. It's got like so much snow, huge pine forests, and there's some people that were saying it's the cleanest air in Europe, which I definitely believe. And then here, there's a Santa's village in Rovaniemi. And so I went to Santa's Snowmobile Museum, which is cool. There's all these old antique snowmobiles, and there's even, I think, might have been this one, there's a Bombardier, which I thought was kind of neat. So the old snowmobiles, and then it's right on the Arctic Circle, which is neat because it's like there's a line that goes right through, and you can sort of jump over the Arctic Circle back and forth. I sent a postcard from Santa's post office, and then it's just a cool little Santa's village, just like a bit like Muskoka, just a bit bigger because there are people from Russia and all over who come in. And then Kokkola. So this is also around Christmas time. It's another little exchange student get together. It's a lot of fun. We met down in Kokkola, which is also sort of central Finland.
You want anything? Looking to you.
And, yeah, and Pikku Joulu, it means little Christmas. It's a bit like an office Christmas. And we played Secret Santa, and we baked some Finnish treats. There's this one called Joulutottu. It's like a Finnish Christmas tart. It's really, really good. Definitely one of my favorite Finnish treats. It's like it gets all fluffy, and and you put jam in the middle, and it's really good pastry, and it's like a special Christmas thing. And then also Christmas cookies. And it was also my first time seeing snow in Finland, which was neat. Yeah, stuff. And that's this train station. And then for winter, winter was really, really cool. Of course, Finland, they've got a nice long winter. It's pretty, I guess that the temperature is generally pretty similar to here. But my second host family, they were really into, I don't know if you guys have heard of this. I hadn't heard of it. It's like skin skiing, where you you put skins on the bottom of your skis, and then instead of taking the lift, you go onto a mountain where no one's been, and you can just walk up, and then you ski down, and then you can go over a couple mountains, but you get the real nice powder, and that was really, really fun. Oops. Oh, okay. Wait. Just a second. But the skiing was really, really nice, and there's and my host family had a cottage in Pyhätunturi, which is about 5.5 hours up north, little northeast, but it was really, really pretty. But I also went cross country skiing, and I went and regular downhill. And it was a really, really good year actually for skiing, because there's tons and tons of snow in Lapland. Like, it broke some snowfall records. So that was nice. And I got the chance to go cross country skiing on Christmas Day, because the Finns celebrate Christmas on the Christmas Eve. And so that was kind of a wild experience, because my whole life, Christmas Day, it had always been you wake up, you open the presents, all that stuff. But then I was out skiing in the middle of it, so it was neat. But otherwise, Christmas is pretty similar. But they had these chocolate eggs that were really, really good. I think they might be Easter too, but I think I definitely had them at Christmas. And it's like you take a regular egg, and then you just you fill it with chocolate, but it's still got the shell on it, so you'd have to take the shell off. But I really, really like those. And this is Santa's village, and this is Oulu. Just with I think it's probably the sunset, but this would be when I'm just getting out of school, sort of in the winter, then the sun's already on its way down. But the sunsets are really, really pretty in Oulu, because it's just I think it's something about how the sun takes longer to set, because it's moving more sideways, or it's just so far north, or something like that. And then also I saw the Reivontulet, the Northern Lights, which was cool. They moved a lot more than I was expecting, and they were actually, it's just you're not really sure if is that really the Northern Lights, or is it, because it's a sort of faint green, but those were cool. And then also on Christmas Eve at the ski hill, they had a big pyrotechnic sort of festival, and then they'd people skiing down the hill with with torches in their hands and stuff, and that was really cool. And then there's the ski hill at Pyhätuntuри. And so like with the skin skiing, like we skied down here a bit and then climbed up this hill, and then you go across the top it, and then you take your skins off, you put them in a backpack, you can ski down this one, and then you go up this one, and there are a couple more. But that was really nice because it's like the trees don't grow as big, and it's kind of windy, and so you get like the real mountains that are like without any trees on them. That sort of thing. Nice. And then the Vanha was like it's a bit like a prom sort of thing. It's a very special experience. It's really really cool to do, and it's for like the second grade moving into the third, it'd be like, because they have like 11, 12, 13 as their upper secondary years, and then university. So it'd be like moving from um, 12 to 13, I guess. But that was really neat because you practice for months and months in the school gym, and you've got to learn like 8 different dances. You've got to get them all just right. And then at the end, you've got this great big huge presentation where it's all the schools in the city, and they put you in the big arena, and it looks really cool when everyone's moving at once, because it's like everyone's like in perfect sync, and it's like the dresses are twirling and all that stuff. And it's really cool. It's like a Finnish traditional sort of thing. And my favorite was the circle dance. I think this one. It's really cool. But yeah, generally that was just a really really neat experience. And then we had like a nice dinner afterwards. And then Hailuoto, it's a big island right near Oulu, in the Bay of Bothnia, sort of between Finland and Sweden, but it's very close to Finland. But you still have to take the ferry to get over. And it's a really really nice spot. It's got a lot of historical buildings. Like this here is Marjaniemi, and so there's like a fishing village here, and there's an old lighthouse. In the fishing village, it's very old. I think some of them are still used, and then you go fishing off to the side here. Some of them are still used, and some of them might be just sort of like a rustic old fishing village. But it's a surprisingly big island. And those cool. This is when I was here. I went there with my first host family. They were trying to hunt ducks, or I think it was ducks or geese or some sort of bird. That was cool. And then here, there's like the old dock. They switched the docks. I think because when they got the new ferries, like the new ferries, they're really really big and they couldn't fit in here. But I thought it was really neat that the old docks, they've got all these like tiles, and it's really like there's a lot of old buildings in Oulu. Like it's not actually, when I flew through Berlin, like I got to walk around Berlin for a bit, and it's not as I guess it's not as old as Berlin, but there's still like there's like the great big Oulu Cathedral, and there's all sorts of old historical things which are really really cool. So there's that, and they're thinking of building a bridge to get on the island, because there aren't too many people who actually live on it, mostly because you have to wait for the ferry every time. But I think in the next couple of years, they're going to build a bridge, which would be a bit easier for getting on and off. And this year, it's like an art installation. It's neat. It's like the artists, they've got a couple in a couple of different European countries. But it's funny, I was just sort of exploring on, and I ran into it, and I was like, oh, like they've got a little art thing, but it wasn't too well marked. And it's cool, and it's like echoes, so you can go in and you can sing, you can say something, and it makes a cool noise. And then this is just a bit off the dock, but it's a bit shallow, and it also over here be a bit shallow. And once actually, I was me and my host dad, we went to the island to the cottage to grab something. We got stuck for like it must have been 2 hours or something, because the ferries were going. One of the ferries was out, and it was only doing every hour or something. That was kind of wild. But I guess that's kind of why you kind of get the fridge in at some point. Um, and then just COVID a bit. Yeah, because there's the whole because of course COVID happened near the end, which was uh, bummer. And there's the whole like I think I was surprised. I think not that many people in Finland left because generally it was a pretty safe country, and it's like it's especially coming from maybe the U.S. or Brazil or Italy early on. Um, but 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 yeah, that was. But yeah, like generally it was it's pretty similar to Canada. It's a bit better, but similar thing like good healthcare and that sort of thing. And also Finns like this was before all the social distancing thing. There's the Finnish sort of psyche or something. It's like you wouldn't necessarily like if you pass a stranger on the street, you wouldn't necessarily say like, oh hi, like how are you doing or anything, like unless you have something really important to say. And like when you get on a bus, like personal space is very important. So you probably wouldn't sit like right next to someone else. You sit like as far away from them as you could. And so I think, and that sort of thing. And like these are people waiting for the bus stop, like before COVID. This is in Tampere, I think. And it's just like, yeah, like this to sort of give people a personal space and that sort of thing. So that maybe helped with the virus a bit. And then flying was my flight got canceled because it was going to be the 5th, and then if the earliest they could get it first was like the 2nd of August, and then I was worried about my visa a bit, and so eventually I managed to get back on the 10th. But it was it's a bit of a longer flight. It's like Oulu, Helsinki, Berlin, Frankfurt, Toronto, which was kind of fun, but also because of COVID and stuff, like there's still the mask things, and they've Air Canada checked my temperature and that sort of thing. But I think I'm glad I'm glad I stayed because it was nice. And just but yeah, but just overall, like Finland, it was it's such a beautiful country. The people are really, really nice. And I had a really really great time there. Like it was amazing. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to say thanks, and thanks so much for sponsoring me. Like it was just it's a great experience.
Thank you, Sam. We are open for questions for Sam, and I know I have one. What is your typical school day? Because I can remember living in Singapore where there's only 12 hours of light, no matter what. And my daughter used to say, Mommy, I hate going to school in the dark, because her bus was before 7 a.m. And she hated any after school sports would leave you coming home at 7 in the evening. And so that got hard after a while. So how did you cope with school? Because I know you ran into the same thing.
Yeah. Well, school, like I think just generally, like they say, Finns, they're a bit more closed in the winter, and they don't sort of keep themselves more in the summer. They're more outgoing. But just going to school, I mean, I had it kind of easy because my 2 host families lived really, really close to the school. Like I could bike there in a few minutes. But still, yeah, some mornings it's like you get up and I'd be, you're just not feeling super into it, and you're really racing to get to school, and yeah, it was a bit hard sometimes, but it wasn't too bad because I guess like once you're at the school, everything's all bright and you sort of just get into it.
Does anybody else have questions for Sam? Please unmute yourself.
I do. Sam, I may have missed this, but tell me about your host families. How did that work?
Yeah. So I had 3 host families. My first host family, they're the ones who took me sailing, and they lived on an island that was really near the city center. It was cool. You could like bike over from the island sort of straight into the city center. And they had a son, René, who was I think 15, and he was really nice. And then my second host family, also they were only a few blocks away. They're also really near the city center, and they lived in an old police building, which was really cool. It's a huge building. It's like they split it in four because it used to be this police station or something. And they had a daughter who's a year older than me, but at the same school. And then for my last host family, it was kind of convenient because like just when I was going to have to like take the bus to school and really I couldn't just wake up, just before school started and sort of run over. Like then there's the COVID, like that day, like I remember like they closed the schools. Finland waited a bit longer before closing the schools, but my birthday was on the 16th of March, and then I switched host families the next day, and then they had like just closed the schools, so I never actually had to take the bus into school. So that was a bit easier.
Any other questions? Sam, did you finish school? Did they go to remote schooling or not?
They did, yeah. They had a thing with Teams that was really. I think they did it really well. Like you had to show up at the regular time and to like turn on say you're here and listen in and that sort of thing.
Shelley has a question.
Yeah, I do. How did Sam? How did you make it with the language, and did you learn it enough to converse?
Well, okay. So I wouldn't say I'm fluent or anything, but I could have a basic conversation, and by the end, my last host family was really using a fair bit of Finnish, especially with like basic stuff like here, can you grab this, or that sort of thing. So I think I think I can understand most
Good.
basic stuff, but yeah, it's a really really difficult language.
It's not an easy one, is it? Awesome. And one more thing, sorry, food. What was the food, the cuisine like there?
So potatoes are super super popular, just like regular peeled boiled potatoes. But also fish. Like they have a really good salmon soup with like big chunks of salmon, and that's kind of a staple. And then sometimes because the school has a lunch, and sometimes just like porridge like for lunch, and you put like a jam thing in it, like a thick jam syrup, which was neat. But generally lots of fish and lots of little dessert things like the Christmas tarts, or they've got a Karelian pie thing, and little things you wouldn't hear about.
Sam, we had Matilda here. Sorry, I'm in the same room as my husband, so there's an echo. And she had a lot of comments about school. So I'm just wondering how you found school. Did you find that your level in terms of math, history, obviously French, you were in immersion, so that's a little different. You would have an advantage. Were you able to kind of just step right in and say, yes, these curriculum concepts are things that I can handle without really having any difficulty?
I think generally yes. Like it's a bit hard to say because at the beginning it was the language was pretty tough, but I had a history thing that was really interesting. The history teacher was really nice. He'd give me English stuff to do, and that seemed pretty on par with the stuff here. And then math was I think math was pretty similar, and it was more like definitely way more languages, because like at school, generally like if someone even just taking French all the way isn't very common. And then like in Finland, it's like, Finnish, English, Swedish, and then, so you'll hear people say, I'm taking Russian and I want to learn Italian as well, or just so many languages. But yeah, but it was a good, really good school system. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was maybe a little bit more advanced than ours, or a little bit not like maybe they're learning a bit more or something, just because of like you always hear it's such a good system, and they everyone seemed really focused, and the teachers were all really good, and it just seemed like everything was working really, really well.
Thank you, Sam. Apparently you've been one of our more engaging speakers this summer, because we are at time.
Oh.
We're really excited to have heard about your year, and we're really proud of the work that you've done there. Often kids go away and they come back a changed person. So I hope that your family and the reentry is going well, because I know that's a huge part of it. And I'm sad that we won't get to see you at the conference, but we will be doing something virtually. And I was talking to the team the other day, so we look forward to hearing and seeing you there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you from our club, because you're an amazing representative of what Rotary will do, and the change that you've seen will bring a broader scope to what you want to do in your future. So we're proud of you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much. Like, it was a really is an awesome experience.